Alrighty. Hey, gang. Welcome back, you guys. Matt here. Welcome to episode 3 of Stove Chat. So, I just wanted to get you guys caught up on some new developments. I've got a couple things in the works that I would like to share with you. But first, let me just say thanks, you guys, so much. Thank you so much for all your support. I'm having so much fun building stoves with you guys. It's been just great to see your builds come together and to follow along as you go through your builds and help you make your changes and things like that. So, my my plans are there to give you sort of the foundation of a build. But as a lot of you are finding out, every build is going to be different. So as you fit those plans into your space and try and make them fit your goals, you're going to want to make some changes. You're going to want a bigger bell, a bench, that has a turn in it. You maybe want to flip it over so it faces to the left, or make a bed instead of a bench, or a tall bell. And I just want you to know I'm here to help you with those things. That's part of the deal. If you buy plans, part of that cost is paying for consulting with me as much as you need, really, to get you through your build and to be able to achieve your goals. And so, the plans, excuse me, got a frog in my throat. The plans really are a starting point. They're basic stoves that cover most of the functions and features that people want, but of course every build is going to be unique. So understand that those plans are a starting point, and your custom stove is going to be real easy to build if the two of us work together. So I just wanted you to know I'm having a great time interacting with you guys, and thank you so much for your support. It's been really neat to see these designs and these stoves come up all over the world. I'm just loving it. So let's talk about a few things. You guys, I started the Stove Chat concept with the idea of staying in touch with all of you viewers and being able to have a little more interaction and interact, answer questions, and cover new things that come up in the world of stoves. Because just the videos of me building something or things like that, they just don't happen often enough. So I wanted to make sure to stay in touch with you. And one of the things that's kind of cropped up in the last few months is Starlight. Have you guys heard of Starlight? You probably have. It's a name that was given to a material discovered, I think, a few decades back. And we've had a few videos now of people, making this material and using it as an insulative, protecting and blowing torches at their hands and things like that. And it does a pretty good job. It's pretty insulative and very protective. So it's a neat material. It's just baking soda, cornstarch, and a little bit of an emulsifier, like Elmer's glue is the video that I watched is what they used, and it makes a flexible putty, and you can use that to insulate some high temp areas. And so I've gotten a lot of questions from people saying, "Hey, is this stuff, how can we use this in rocket stoves?" And let's talk about Starlight. So I just wanted to touch base on that a little bit. I've experimented with it a bit. I had a few years ago played with some of that stuff, and it's very promising, and it's really fun to play with. And so one of my favorite things to do with it is to make small models of rocket stove cores. Now, when they're that small, they don't really act the same way as the big ones do. The fluid dynamics just aren't the same in a small chamber. So they're not that useful for identifying what's going to work or what's not going to work, but they're a lot of fun to make. That said, Starlight really doesn't have much application in a real rocket stove, unfortunately, even a temporary one. It's just too fragile. Once it's been burned, it turns into just sort of a carbon foam, and it's real fragile. And secondly, it just doesn't hold up to the temperatures in a rocket stove. I used some I put some inside my main stove behind me in the tiny cook stove here to try and determine how it would perform in that temperature. And let me tell you, it does something interesting. It turns into like a glass. It melts down. I had a piece about the size of maybe a golf ball. It turned into about a pea-sized piece of rock hard, really shiny, like a little bead, like a little glass bead. And I wish I'd kept it. I wasn't thinking. I was doing stove maintenance when I dug it out of there, and I don't think I have it around. But really interesting material, but definitely not something that's very useful for building our stoves. So it's fun to play with Starlight. It's fun project for the kids, but it doesn't really serve a purpose that I can see in building rocket stoves. So that brings me to my next development, and this one's really, I am over the moon about this, you guys. It's very exciting. So, as you guys know, one of the last big challenges with the rocket stoves and the cores we've been building has been how to deliver the secondary air in something that won't deteriorate, any in a short time. Most of the metal we use, even stainless, deteriorates because of the high temperatures and low oxygen environment. And as you guys know, I've been experimenting with a product called RA330, and I want to give you a little report on that. My secondary air piece is perfect. It looks like the day I put it in there. We're almost at the end of the season. I've been burning hot and consistently day in and day out. Now, a normal secondary air piece, whether it was one of my exhaust parts out of stainless or black steel, either one of those would have been completely disintegrated at this point in the season. And this RA330 is holding up fantastic. I don't see any deterioration. Now, that led to another idea, and I need to give credit where credit is due. This idea is not mine. It came from Pete in the Netherlands. And Pete, thank you so much for the idea. I implemented it just this week, and it so far seems to be holding up great. And so what I've done, you guys, this is really exciting. As you guys know, I've been building my cores out of ceramic fiberboard, and one of the biggest concerns that people have is that the ceramic fiberboard is not very abrasion resistant, so it tends to become worn in the firebox. Now, my feeling is that that is an acceptable compromise. Everything else, fire bricks break down. They're difficult to deal with on a day-to-day basis. They're very hot. They make loading the stove uncomfortable, and they crack, and they need replacing every few seasons on as well. And I could go over all the lists of things and why they don't work. But at any rate, Pete sent me a comment, and he said, "Hey, Matt, what about lining that firebox with RA330?" And so this week, or last week rather, I ordered some RA330 sheet, and I ordered 18 gauge sheet metal of this RA330 high temperature alloy, and I just tack welded a little firebox together, and I inserted that into my stove. I had to take the whole stove apart, took the top off, and got inside there. I'll put some pictures up. You can see what I did. And I dropped the metal box in there and then closed it all back up. So it's really just a metal 18 gauge lining that ceramic fiberboard firebox. It's just set in there. I did put some mortar around the edges to try and isolate it in there, but it's just sitting in there, and then ceramic fiberboard back over the top, and it's all sealed up. And you guys, it is so amazing so far. I've only been burning it for about half the week this week, but it doesn't seem to be warping or deteriorating in any significant way. I can jam wood in there, and it just slides in against the sides. And I think that's it, you guys. I think that's got the final details of this stove construction nailed down. It looks like with that firebox in there and that RA330 secondary air, we'll have a permanent, very durable firebox construction, highly insulated, really easy to build. Build it, stack up your ceramic fiberboard, drop that metal firebox in there. Now, I tack welded mine, but really you could rivet it, bend it and rivet it. It doesn't need to be, it could even be screwed. It doesn't need to be super durable just so it doesn't fall apart. And I'm thrilled. I want to again thank you, Pete, for that great idea. And while it's not cheap, I do feel like it's going to be well worth the investment. So my firebox was about $200 in materials, and another $30 in shipping. And you know, that's a little bit of a cost, considering these stoves are, you know, ideally supposed to be mostly salvage and fairly inexpensive to build. But you know, we've been making progress on these stoves for years now, and they're getting so hot inside and so clean and so efficient. This really was the last big hurdle: how to build a stove in a way that's fairly easy, but is going to offer a, you know, long-term durability as well as optimal performance. You know, the reason I don't like the high mass fireboxes, among other things, you know, one is that once the firebox is hot, you put your fuel in there and all that heat just flares the wood off. And so you get a situation where you are overfueled, you have way too much wood gas for the stove, and so you burn dirty for a long time and you waste a lot of fuel and you make smoke and creosote. So I don't like high mass fireboxes for the reason that they are inefficient. But I also don't like them because that same heat that's glowing back and auto combusting your fuel is also burning your hands and your face every time you load it. It's just very unpleasant to load and deal with the open stove, whereas the insulated fireboxes, you can reach in immediately after they're out and they're nice and cool. It's really just a vast difference in user experience, and they're much nicer to use day to day. They're not rolling smoke at you. You're not jamming wood in there trying to just get it closed before it burns you. So I'm super excited about the RA330 firebox. I feel like it's the last piece of the puzzle to really nail down. You know, I've worked so hard over these last few years to try and come up with a way to share these stoves with you folks, a way that to offer you plans and offer you methods that you can build these stoves without special skills, without special tools. And I feel like I've really gotten it close. You know, in the past, the cores required casting, which is an enormous task, or masonry saws and difficult cuts and layups, and a lot of knowledge and special tools, materials, and cutting that ceramic fiberboard with a knife and laying it in there and just laying that stove, you know, firebox in there and using clay sand mortar. I really feel like I've got this down to something really simple that's going to offer long-term durability. So I'm just real excited to be able to offer that to you guys in the plans. So so that's what I wanted to share. Looks like the sun's about to blind us, so I probably need to check out here. But hey, I just wanted to thank you guys so much. You've been so great with all your support and supporting my plans. It's been really fun to see the builds come to life all over the world. And I really would love to help you build your stove. So if you haven't checked out my plans, there's a link in the description. I've got plans for the cook stoves that, you know, cook and heat your home and heat water, and full rocket mass heaters. And I'd love to help you build one. So check those out. And if you got questions about stove builds, let me know. And I'll come back in a few weeks and we'll talk about some new developments in the rocket stove world. There's some other stuff coming down the pipe that we should go over. So in the meantime, hope you guys are staying warm and having a great late winter heading into spring here. And I'll check in with you soon and see you before too long here. So thanks so much for listening and watching as always, and I'll see you next time. All right, thanks you guys.